What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of my futures journey, where I, as a prop firm trader in the CFD Forex space, am trying to navigate my way into futures and understand what it takes to become a futures trader. So I'm going to share the whole journey here. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you are interested in getting involved. All right, so where do I start? Compared to CFDs, this is quite easy. I'm able just to come in and identify maybe 10 prop firms, whereas CFDs have many more. These are the ones that are on Prop Firm Match's website. So I highly recommend, first of all, if you don't have any experience, coming onto this website, because here they offer verified funded trader reviews. So these reviews are from funded traders. They're not just Trustpilot reviews, therefore are more credible. So if any of you guys are unsure of what prop firm to go with, have a look at Prop Firm Match. They're the best prop firm comparison website in the industry. And also follow the steps down the description to be able to join my community and share the funded futures journey with me, and also join my group. So let's get into this one. Off the bat, we can see, and if you don't know how to toggle, we've got the Forex at the top, futures on the right-hand side. So we're all looking at the futures now. Already coming into this, I'm just going to warn many people, if you're coming from CFDs, there's so many different rules. I thought there was different rules from different prop firms in Forex, man. This is nothing. The rules that I'm looking at are very heavy. I'm trying to understand here. Now, I always recommend, don't try and look at every single prop firm. You want to first of all look at the ones that are rated the highest and then make a judgment for yourself, or maybe 2 or 3 which you'd like to investigate more. My opinion is my funded futures, alpha futures are the 2 that are looking the best. I would also look at one more. So I'm going to look at Traderify. They have 4.8. You could also look at Top 1. They look pretty good. I wouldn't bother with Apex. Funded Next futures are new, but I'm already trying to get max allocated with them on the CFD, so I'm not going to look to share my max allocation across different types of trading. Apart from that, I would pick them 3, maybe 4. And this is where what I did is I went on ChatGPT and just asked it to prompt me the different account types so I can get a bit more of understanding. That in itself isn't going to make you be able to choose your account. We're going to go onto each specific prop firm to understand everything as a whole, because there are so many rules sometimes in the challenge going into the funded, activation fees, minimal buffers to be able to get payouts. There's a lot going on, which is very overwhelming for many traders. And I would really, and I always say it, I think Forex and CFDs is an easier market to enter. It's a lot more consistent. I think it's great for traders that are doing well, but to go straight into futures, especially down to the fact it's a lot lower time frame, have to pass their accounts on a recurring monthly basis. Otherwise, they have to pay the challenge fee again. So what I wanted to do is compare the 3 firms side by side without having to go on each individual website. I think this is the easiest way to do it at the minute. And I've picked them 3 firms, and I've picked a 100k account. So before anyone's wondering about the 50k or 100k prices, we are looking at 100k just for standardization in there. Let's actually zoom in to see here and compare these 3. So what we're going to be looking at the very beginning is more the challenge phase. We're going to understand what we need to do here. We normally, with each prop firm, at least have like a standard account and an advanced account. They may be called different things. I've took off the extra account with my funded futures and Traderify because I know they're not going to suit me. Here we have 2 for each. I think that's the first way of comparing. First of all, I want to compare the cost. You can see my funded futures is by quite a bit more expensive than the other 2. We're going to find out why that is, but at least alpha futures seem to be setting themselves in the middle. Traderify looks very cheap, and we're going to find out why that is. Profit target. Coming on from CFDs and coming and understanding the future space, you're going to be very familiar with a 10% profit target on phase 1, 5% profit target on phase 2. You're going to be used to a 5% daily drawdown, whether that be trailing or static. Here it's a lot different. One phase in the profit target, you pay a monthly fee. They're the monthly fees. So that's just not the price for an account. These are monthly fees that you are able to reset. If you are unsuccessful or feel like you're not going to pass the challenge, you're very close to blowing it, you can reset as many times as you want for a cheaper fee than this, slightly cheaper fee. This just allows you to not blow the account. You can go and give it another go and reset everything to 0. This just obviously plays in the prop firm's favour massively. You can see though, these are the percent profit targets, 6% and 8%. Mainly 6% is the standard for the industry. The interesting thing is this is drawdown limits. This isn't daily drawdown limits. This is the max total drawdown of your account, which in Forex would normally be 10% for the most part. We've got a 3% on my funded futures and 4% on alpha futures, 3.5% on the other account, the advanced. then we do have a intraday trailing drawdown on TraderFi, which I don't really like. All of these are end of day, same as the TraderFi growth. I would be very, very careful with this. What the intraday one and why I don't like it is let's just say you're in a trade and you're running up 3%, 3.1%. And let's say you go to break even, price takes you out of break even. Well, you failed the account, you're up 3.1% and you're back to zero. That's where they're going to catch you out. So I'd be very careful. And the thing to understand with all of this is it's not like CFDs where you're going to be taking it slow. Remember the days where there was a 30-day for phase 1 and a 60-day for phase 2? You've kind of got that now, but you need to make 6% in 30 days with only 3% drawdown, which is very difficult. So you can see how easy it could be to maybe get this account. $350, £250, maybe nearly 300 euros. And very, very quickly, if you're not careful with your risk, knowing that you've still got to make, let's say on a 1% risk, you've got to make 6R in that month, you could very easily take that drawdown. So not just that, that's just the first thing, but be very, very careful. The next thing is probably the most important thing, is a daily loss limit, because it's all relative to the overall drawdown. If you've got a very tight daily loss limit, it's going to find very difficult to add risk to winning positions, make sure you can hit the profit target in time. What I like about my funded futures, and now making it real sense of why that pro account's more money, no daily drawdown, no daily loss limit drawdown in evaluation for both accounts, which I really, really like, because the only thing to really focus on is this. And that's important, because when you're coming into drawdown, you don't want to be worrying too much about the daily, or if you're risking too much on that specific day, which I really like the overall drawdown there, despite it being lower. Alpha futures are a little bit different, because you get a 2% daily, but a 4%, so you get an overall higher drawdown limit, but on the daily less. Just got to be careful, just don't overtrade in that day really. If you are a trader that takes a lot of risk on, if you do want to put more risk on for the day, my funded futures might be the way to go. But you can see here that this account is 2% of balance, which means if you go up 3 or 4%, you have a slightly higher buffer on the daily, but marginally. So I don't really know why they got that rule. TraderFi has a 2.5% soft breach, which is okay. Not really complaining with that. And that one has none. But it does have that intraday. And I don't really like the intraday. I like the end of day. I think I will just refrain from the intraday ones at the minute. In terms of contracts, 6 contracts on my funded futures. And it says full contract access. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm assuming that you could probably trade 10. 10 for the alpha futures. And then TraderFi have 8, which is obviously 10x if you are trading on the micros. Therefore, that helps you identify which account may be suited for you. The reason why this one's cheaper than this one is because you do have a limit. So I'd be very, very careful in identifying if with your leverage can you still, because this is basically a leverage, pretty much. How much can you actually put on? That's going to be important to understand. So they're really the things within the basic challenges that you need to understand. I hope I've gone through that easy. I've tried to understand things a little bit more in the last couple of days. We zoom out a little bit more and we go more into the consistency score. The consistency score, if people don't know what it is, it's when you pass a challenge or you get a payout. It's also down to the fact if you've took a huge winner, the prop firms see that as you're not consistently making equal amounts of profit. You're maybe full porting a huge winner. What they like you to do, and what I've realised with futures, is the whole idea is scalping. So you're looking for multiple winners. What I like about alpha futures and my funded futures is the actual consistency score is pretty fair. It's 50% in the evaluation, and for all of them, 40% on this alpha futures account standard, with the TraderFi being 35%. This is another thing that can stop you from getting payouts if you're getting too big of a win or you're not taking enough trades. So with how I trade and swing, it's like, okay, I can take, a lot of them don't have consistency scores. I don't like prop firms that have consistency scores. So I've got to be like, right, I can take one winner past phase 1. That's happened before, but I can't do that with this. Completely different way of trading. As for the consistency score in the funded accounts, let's have a look at them now. So my funded futures, if we're looking at the consistency score, these are the funded rules here. If we go on to the pro account, which we're on, we can see that the consistency score, there is none. There is none on both. Once you're funded on my funded futures then, I mean, you're ready to go. You don't have to have a consistency score. To me, that's massive. I don't want to have a consistency score. These do have them when you get funded. They don't change. These do. This one does, but the advanced doesn't. I believe. Let's check the advanced on alpha futures. So simply, if you don't know any rules, you can always just check it here on the account. So this is the advanced plan. This is the 100k. Consistency score has none. So these both have none. So already, and this is the reason why I've filtered out for these two. There's a reason why I didn't go for Top Step and Apex, is because the rules are just too much. I like the consistency score not being available in the funded stage. However, when we get onto the payouts and the splits and all this, whilst this can look good, a lot of them are bi-weekly. A lot of them have activation fees. My funded futures does not have an activation fee, but Alpha does. So really, it's all swings and roundabouts. That's what I'm trying to say, is one thing's going to be better on one account, the other thing's going to be different on another account. You benefit more from the Alpha if you don't pass, but as soon as you pass, then you've got to pay an activation fee, whereas my funded futures doesn't, but then you're paying more to start with. You can see the payout splits generally go anywhere from 70 up to 90%. I don't think that really matters. The profit split doesn't matter. What's more important when you get funded is, does the prop firm have a buffer? With futures, because of this really, really small overall drawdown limit, the idea is a prop firm wants you to create a buffer. The reason why they want a buffer is the prop firms want you to increase this overall drawdown. So let's say you have 100k, you can't get a buffer. With my funded futures, if we look at this account, 100k, you need to make 3,100. So before you even hit that, you've got to make 3% with that drawdown limit before you can even get a payout. Man, that's crazy. Like, I can't in my head think why traders that haven't gone into the CFD space are trying to get allocated with futures, man. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, you've got to make 3% already. Doesn't even tell you're going to make profit off that and get a payout, because you can't. You need to have a minimum payout request of this. So you've got to clear the buffer. Then, I might be wrong, you've got to make this. So you've got to make 4,100. So until you can get a payout, you've got to make 4,100. You're not even getting full percentage split with that payout. It's an 80-20 as well. Like, to me, yeah, sitting here now, that just puts me off. I don't even want to try. That, simply put, I do not even want to give that a go, because these are the best firms in the industry as well. They offer that. That's mad. Even like this, it says here, maximum loss limit. Once you get that payout, you might withdraw, let's say you withdraw that 1,000, you might get an 8% profit split. They want you to probably keep in more, so you only withdraw 500, so you keep a bit more of a buffer. Your account can't go below 100k and $100, which means you're still at a 3% loss. So you've made the buffer. Now you've made the buffer. That's the new drawdown, and you can't go below the 100k balance. Which, what the incentive is for this to do is, if you make 5% and you get to get a payout, you're at 103, you get to 108. Your idea is you don't withdraw the 5k, the 5% profit you've made. You withdraw half of it, because then you've got a bigger buffer, and the static drawdown of 100k and $100 is remaining the same. But what is it going to take for you to get big payouts and get that buffer to start with? It's going to take a lot of trading days. It's going to take a lot of winners. And it's going to take you probably over doing it to an extent. That's what they want. And that's, you think about it and you think, oh, it's easy, it's one step, it's 6%. Prop firms have to make money somehow, and then these are the exact ways they do. As we come back onto the sheet, alpha futures do not actually offer a buffer. So the difference between alpha, which you could look at as being a good thing, is I believe they don't actually have that buffer, which makes it, you pay the activation fee, but then you can get payouts a lot quicker. I will double check that now. Yes, correct. You can see here, no buffer requirements. No, I can't withdraw until this level, must keep a certain amount in your account. It's up to them how to manage it. So you can hold more in your account. But to me, that's a huge thing. That I know that it's better once you get up to 104k, 103k on my funded futures, once you get that 3%, because the buffer will go and increase, really. But with alpha, you're always worrying about, once you take that payout, you'll be very close to that breach. But then you do have a higher drawdown overall. I think it's hard to argue, really, that alpha futures is not the best, to be honest. Traderify, yeah. So I have looked back, and I might get comments about this, but alpha futures here, this daily loss guard doesn't seem to be until you get funded. So it's not a worry in the evaluation, and it's the same there for my funded futures. So they're all pretty the same. As a whole, my funded futures and alpha futures are neck and neck. I would say that the bigger benefits probably come with alpha, the way it's looking now. We do have consistency scores, but as a whole, you'll probably get your payouts a lot quicker on alpha. And to me, as a Forex trader that's used to that, is probably something that I'd want to go for. What reviewing these firms allows you to do is have one in mind. It doesn't mean you have to buy one right now, and I'm not going to buy one right now because I haven't even done my back testing. That monthly fee is going to start as soon as you start trading it. What you need to look at is, from that, the understanding of the loss limits, the daily drawdowns. When you then go and test it, when you see your overall max drawdown, how can you stick to the rules and keep your funding throughout the period whilst you have massive winning streaks and massive losing streaks, more importantly? To me, that's going to be very important. So now I know what the rules are. I've got more of an idea of when I go in to test this, does it align, and what risk I need to set. And I've spoke about risk a lot in my videos, and it's really, really important. And there's definitely a few ways you can go about these firms, especially with alpha futures, is you could pass very, very quickly, and it could mean that you try and full put your account a little bit more, keeping within the consistency score and all of this, and still get pretty big payouts and maybe blow the account. I don't think with CFDs it's worth doing that. I personally would like to hold my accounts and just take it slow and steady. Alpha futures, the way it is with no buffer, to me looks like you could just rinse and repeat with big payouts, blow the account, higher risk. It depends how you like to trade though. For me, I like to trade a bit more conservative, but with this approach I'm now going to take, it may be a bit different. That's an interesting take there. We've had a look at the accounts. I think it's a lot of information to digest. I'm going to put the links to all three of these prop firms down below as well, so you can have a look at their rules, more importantly, and understand what you want to go for. And look, I'm here to talk about the different rules. I may have missed a few things out. I'm not perfect. I'm learning. That's the main thing, is if you guys can learn something from what I'm giving out, then that's all really that matters. It's for all of us individually as traders to do our own due diligence into firms. You cannot take my word as gospel, and you shouldn't listen to my approach of what I like, because it may be completely different to the way you trade. So remember that when you're looking at these. But I hope you guys enjoyed that one. We'll come back next Sunday, and what I'm going to do is start working on this strategy and actually identifying how I want to trade and what parameters I need to set with going about the testing, what I'm going to use for the testing, and really just gathering data and all that good stuff. So see you guys later. Take care. Peace out.